a new president will be elected. Currently, the two candidates that Americans have to choose from are surrounded by controversy. Many Americans are concerned that if either one of these candidates are elected, they can make decisions for the country that some would not agree with. Luckily, the Constitution that was written by our founding fathers prevents such a thing from happening. Our government is divided into three different categories that keep the power of ruling the United States spread out. There are three branches of the United States government, and they all have very different but very important duties. The government is divided into three branches: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. When someone thinks about the U.S. government, they probably envision the people who are at the forefront of it all. The executive branch of the U.S. government is made up of the president, the vice president, and the cabinet. The executive branch proposes, carries out, and implements laws that are approved. The executive branch also conducts foreign policy. The executive branch makes treaties with other countries. The president is the head of state, head of the U.S. government, and commander-in-chief of the military. The president serves in 4-year terms and can serve no more than 2 terms. The president can veto laws that have passed through Congress. There are 3 requirements to become president of the United States. One must be at least 35 years old, must be a resident within the United States for at least 14 years or more, and must be a natural-born citizen. If the president were to ever not be able to fulfill his duties, the vice president would take over. The vice president serves in 4-year terms and can serve an unlimited amount of terms. The vice president also leads the Senate. The cabinet consists of people who are heads of 15 departments: the secretaries of Agriculture, Commerce, Defense, Education, Energy, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, Housing and Urban Development, Interior, Labor, State, Transportation, Treasury, and Veterans Affairs, and the Attorney General. Behind the so-called faces of the government lies the legislative branch. The legislative branch of the U.S. government is made up of the Senate, the House of Representatives, which together are known as Congress. The Senate includes 100 elected senators total. There are 2 senators from each of the 50 states. One term in the Senate is 6 years, although there is no limit to how many terms one person can serve. The House of Representatives is made up of 435 elected representatives total. Each state sends a certain number of representatives based on its population. Some states only have 2 representatives, while others have 40. One term in the House of Representatives is 2 years, and there is no limit to how many terms one person can serve. The Senate and the House of Representatives both elect leaders. The leader that controls the House is called the majority leader, and the other leader is called the minority leader. Congress has the power to accept or deny people that the president has appointed to his cabinet. Congress also has the power to remove the president from office, which is called impeachment, under extreme circumstances that they would deem fit. Behind Congress, there is another branch of government that makes sometimes the most important decisions that affect Americans. The judicial branch of the U.S. government is made up of the Supreme Court and other federal courts. The Supreme Court is made up of 9 justices. These justices were nominated for the Supreme Court by the President and then approved by the Senate. The Supreme Court decides if laws are constitutional. The Supreme Court decided the meanings of laws and how to apply them in America. The Supreme Court has the power to overturn laws that they view are unconstitutional. The Supreme Court justices do not have a fixed term. They can serve until their retirement or death if they would like. Supreme Court judges can only be removed from their office through the process of impeachment through Congress. The Supreme Court has made many important decisions in American history, including making segregation in schools illegal, making abortion legal, making it a requirement for criminal subjects to be informed of their rights before being questioned by police, knowing that colleges can sometimes take race and ethnicity into account when admitting students. The Supreme Court has the ability to overrule itself. That is, a case that the Supreme Court ruled on before can be overruled because it may now be seen in a new light. Politics and views change, and the longer a decision was ago, the more likely it is that the courts may feel differently about how an issue presents now versus how it was then. An example of when this happened was with civil rights. There are smaller courts in the judicial system that handle smaller cases than those in the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court will always have the final say if decisions cannot be made or the decisions that were made were in question. The Supreme Court may not be the first thing that people think of when they think of the government, but it is definitely an important part to uphold the Constitution. The government has three branches: the executive, legislative, and judicial, all that have separate duties. The three branches have different but equal jobs so